Yeah, so the
Yeah.
the further you move into the industry, you actually are on set less. It it makes sense to me now that like in order to give each project the attention it deserves, like I can't be shooting 12 days a month. Like there's no way I can go through storyboards, lookbooks, crew out, have lighting diagrams, have talks with all my keys. If I'm doing that for 12 commercials a month, I just don't have the mental bandwidth to give each one of the. I have about 4 projects a month in me, and that's still going like incredibly hard. Go 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 go. We got to do this. We got to do this. So over time, like you'd like it so that you're doing maybe the same number of days, but the projects are now multi-day shoots so that you can really get in the weeds and be like, okay, that was a 3 day shoot. Now we could really get those extra shots that we weren't able to get before. So that's the goal. So when a director's like, I was only on set 10 days last year, I would be like, yeah, I get it. But you probably had like a million Zoom calls and a million hand holding of the clients and the agencies on the other 340 days of your time.
Literally, and actually, kind of speaking, I guess, about the life of a filmmaker and kind of the freelance world and all that stuff. Started, when you first started out, of course, like you had a great career, and then kind of moving from that to something completely different. I can imagine it's probably not easy, especially because you already had a family at that time. Like, what was that transition like for your family and for yourself in terms of kind of going into something unknown, I guess, at the time?
I mean, it didn't happen overnight. There was probably a 2 year overlap where I was still practicing checking eyes, and I was just kind of like dabbling in film. I would do music videos on the weekends. I would do, local promo video commercial stuffs. I had shot my fair share of weddings, so I've definitely cut my teeth in that realm. Which, I hate weddings. I will never film them again. However, you got to treat weddings like your first part-time job. It does teach you quite a bit on how to win people over quickly, how to find the best angle in negative time with natural light. Like there is learning value to them, even though you'll never catch me. I don't even like going to weddings in attendance now. That's how spoiled they are. So yeah, over the course of a couple of years, it was just like the opportunities got larger in film to the point where it wasn't as crazy to say like, hey, if I took a year off of main career and just see where this goes, because I think the only way to do film is to make it your A hustle. It's very difficult to like it is all consuming of your mental capacity, your physical capacity at the start because you're trying to like get on as many gigs as possible. You're trying to make as many connections as possible. And if you have another job that's let's say anywhere from 35 to 50 hours a week, like imagine your guy's life right now and someone's like you're going to do this other thing for 40 hours a week, you could probably like no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
100%.
yeah.
Especially because I mean, I feel like something that people don't understand from other industries is like sometimes you work at random times, sometimes you have a night commercial, sometimes you have a location scout that's you have to do in a few days, and it just randomly book it at that time. It's like things come so last minute at times that it's like you can't like if you had a job, it's like you just wouldn't be able to do half of the things, if not more.
100%. 100%. Like you get contacted, be like, what are you doing next week on the 7th? And you'd be like, oh, I gotta shift. I gotta shift at my job. And you're like, did you just say the word shift? And you're like, no, no, I said I'm booked on another gig.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, and stuff comes up last minute all the time. People get sick, people drop off. Like it is not uncommon. Well, not uncommon or common, but like you'll get contacted for something 5 days out on a shoot. And you're like literally like, what are you doing next Tuesday? And you're like, yeah, send me over the treatment. Rate. Like, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Because it is not unheard of. Things fall through. Sometimes clients drag their feet and they just wait so long to pull the trigger on signing off on a treatment or deck that like things have to come together in a week. And it is an insane, like I feel bad for production companies when they like things get signed off on a Friday and we're like, we're shooting next Thursday. And it's like, woof, like that's a lot of planning in 4 days. So yeah, if you're working at another job, you're going to miss those opportunities like going for random location scouts, which inevitably they come up. Like I did one yesterday. It was booked the day before. Like it's just like hey, the director's got an hour here. Are you free Tuesday at 11 to go? And I'm like, yeah, I can make that happen. So But that's important time to put into a project because it starts the creative juices flowing once you see a location, once you start talking with the director. Like it, it's sometimes off the clock time. Like you're not, depending on your budget level, you're not always paid for that. But if you don't invest that time in the pre-production, then just the assumption that's like, oh, I'm going to show up to set and it's all going to work out. I have not found that to ever be the case.
Do you find you work with mostly like the same directors over and over again, or do you find that it's a greater variety? Because I know that some directors typically like they'll have like their go-to guy, let's say, or maybe a couple DPs they really like to work with. So do you find that's kind of how it works for you, or is there a bigger
I
variety?
would say I would say a lot of directors in Toronto will have like their top three guys, and I have good relationships with I'd probably say like half a dozen directors, probably six guys that I'll work with continuously throughout a year. You need to have a large network though, because sometimes I'm booked, and sometimes like I know when a director's A guy is booked because I'll get the call, and I'll be like, oh, so A guy was booked, and they're like, no, no. I mean, yes, they are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But that's not an insult to you by any means. It's just like we have a preference of who we like to work with, and it doesn't mean we're not open to collaborating with other people, but we are as human beings creatures of habit. And it's like if you have a first AC you really like working with, well, they just might get your workflow more. It doesn't mean they're better or worse, you just work really well with them. So they're, when you have 4 days to crew out a thing, do you really want to interview five people to crew out things, or do you want to call the guys that you're like, I know what so and so brings, I know what so and so brings, they get the workflow, like let's just lock them in. And but like I work with new directors all the time. Like that's another facet of the industry. Like I would say it's a good even split between working with new people and new crews and working with like the tried and true directors and the crew that I'm used to. And there are pros and cons to both worlds. I think one of them pushes you and the other one is it's great to have that shorthand and you know what you're going to get, but you don't want to shoot everything with the same director and the same crew every time, because then all of your ideas start to meld together and there are no new outside perspectives to kind of kick you in the butt or to make you think about something. You're just like, this has worked before. Let's do it again.